Peace. So whenever you have to make a pertinent, possibly life-changing decision, or making any decisions, you have to be careful of the state of mind you're in when you're making a decision, because the state of mind that you're in could actually affect the decision that you make. And what I mean by that is, whatever decision you make at that particular point may be that decision for that particular point. But later on, after that decision is made, there may be consequences because of the decision that you have made at that particular point. But what I'm saying is that may not have had to happen if you would have taken into consideration your emotional and mental state when making the decision. And that's a lot of what I want to discuss, is the mental and emotional state that we are in at times we make decisions, and why those decisions come back to haunt us. The decisions come back to haunt us because there's another factor that is helping in the decision-making process. And at that particular point, it could be very negative, that piece that's helping, and that's the emotional state. Now, people say, you know, sadness, anger, and so on and so forth. Those are emotions, which is true. Now, if a person is in a very angry state or a very sad state, those states, to me, are expressions of some form of trauma. Current trauma, immediate trauma, something that has happened immediately, possibly, or something that may have happened earlier. But the situation is this: that creates a feeling. That feeling creates a frequency. That frequency is vibration, and so on and so forth. And it affects your thinking, because your thinking is not based on a rational basis of judgment, you know, or decision making. It's not rational at this particular point, because it's being infused by this emotional state. So we can gain consequences from making decisions under the wrong emotional energy. So with that being stated, when you are going through certain types of emotions that you may not at the particular time be able to control, what makes you think that you can control a rational thought? In other words, what makes you think you can make a decision, you understand, that will be beneficial for you at that particular point in time? Why? Because if your emotions is out of control and your mental, if your emotions is out of control, that makes the mental a little unstable. And that is where we do our rationalization and our processing and our analyzing of information, as well as our own self-information. This is where it's all worked out. And if it's clouded and a lot of other things is happening, you can't make a proper decision. And in the process, whatever you do affects you as well as affecting others around you. This is why we must always be careful what we do, because the things we do, even though it may not harm us, or we may feel that it's okay for us to do the things that we do, there are still other people that you are connected to, and it may harm them in some form or another. So we must always be aware of what we're doing and how we're doing it. And this, again, comes in to exactly what I'm talking about. You have to have a particular state of mind to make a good rational decision, basically. Decision making is based on having a rational frame of thinking, having a clarity, having a clear train of thought. You understand what I'm saying? Undisturbed, unmolested. A clear train of thinking, which will allow you to be able to observe in its proper content the surroundings, people, places, things that you may be making this decision based upon, or your own internal makeup. You may be dealing with something specifically pertaining to you. But if you are not in the right emotional state of mind, then mentally you're going to make the wrong decision, and there's going to be a consequence for it. So as people, when we take a look at ourselves holistically, you know what I'm saying? From a holistic point of view, when we just look at humanity, first of all, not just our people specifically, But humanity is traumatized. And then when you look at us, we are triple traumatized. And in the process of being triply traumatized, having a triune trauma, you know what I'm saying? We are definitely apt to make wrong decisions. You see where I'm going with this? We are apt to make wrong decisions, even though we may think these decisions are the right ones. Take a look at us. We are apt to make the wrong decisions, even though, quote unquote, someone say, well, yo, that defeats the purpose of the emotional state and so on and so forth. You talk about anger, mental. What if somebody, you know, what if what you're saying is that we're making wrong decisions even without the emotional, mental anger, blah, blah, blah? Yes, that too. Why? Because of the trauma. The trauma. You know what I'm saying? Remember, we're triune traumatized. We're triple traumatized more than others, than everybody else. And in the process, even when we're happy, you know what I'm saying, which is a good thing to stay happy and positive, we can still do some things out of order if we're not aware. That's all. But the thing is that when you are emotionally and mentally shaken up, you can't make the right decisions. That's what I'm saying. So that is just something for us to examine in the process, that when you begin to make decisions, and when you're checking yourself and checking decisions and checking out what's going on around you, or you are put in a situation where you have to make a decision, or you've gone through a conflict and you have to make a decision, remember the key is to make a decision with clarity. That means you have to fix yourself before you actually go into the decision-making process if you are being mentally or emotionally affected. You see what I mean? So that is just something I wanted to touch on, because I think it's something that we all have experienced and may not realize or recognize the experience itself for what it really is. And then we get more pain on top of the pain that we're already suffering from, and we make a decision which brings us more pain because the decision isn't made in clarity. The decision is made out of the emotional state, which means the mental, again, is going through something. You see what I mean? As well as the physical body. So with that being stated, let's just take a look at how we make decisions and the circumstances and conditions in which we are making the decision under. And how do we readjust our decision making? I hope this video kind of helps us get an insight on the possible, you know what I'm saying, readjustments we can make, that, you know, the way we can do things a little bit differently when it comes to the process of making decisions, and the process of, you know, weighing options and so on and so forth, and setting goals and all of that good stuff. So with that being said, peace.